well, I say good afternoon to the participants, and also good morning to the participants from the Americas. I am speaking now from Athens, Greece, but I feel I'm with you. And this is thanks to the new technologies that make us possible to be next to each other and making possible this symposium. We see that this meeting shows that the world has shrunk to a very narrow geography, and inter-influence between nations and countries make the problems common. We share the same problems, and all those things that we discussed interest, or at least should interest, all the inhabitants of this globe. When I was asked to make a closing remarks, I first thought of summarizing what has been said, but in the morning session, I understood that that was impossible for me to do, because all the presentations were so deep, rich, and elaborate, and that was something I could not do it. But also, it was not correct. It was not fair to summarize those presentations, because they have to be taken on their own. Each one cannot be summarized. It is rich and the product of years-old study and great experience. But I want only to mention a few names, the names of the participants, just to remind their names and thank them. Sir Graham Watson said something that pleased me very much. He said that even if we don't have the European Center for Populist Studies, we had to invent it. Thank you. It was very nice. It pleased me very much to hear that. I hope we meet his expectations. Professor Findlay had the most elaborate, very wide presentations which covered many issues. We thank him for his presentations of globalization and economy and neoliberal economy. Then we had the panel 1, which was on governance and pandemic. Manuel Funke showed how harmful to the economy populism is. Alan Burney pointed the base characteristics of populism and made the point that they didn't capitalize on this COVID crisis, but this does not mean that populism will not come back again and we will not face populism again. I want to thank the Eser Karakash, Simon Watbooth, Werner Pasha, and Naim Kapuju for their moderation they did. We thank them especially. In panel 2, it was about authoritarian populism. Erhard Wurz, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, reminded how populism fragmented European Union, harmed European Union. Neil Robinson explained that populism justifies some illiberal regimes, and Axel Klein explained Japan, which was a very special case, which was, for me at least, very new ideas, new perspectives. Panel 3 was about the future of populism. Jans Masse stressed the discourse, how discourses change and policies change due to this pandemic. Brett Mayer explain the performances and the policies of the populist leaders. And Sherry Berman, we just listened to her. She explained the performance of the democratic regimes and the trust of the people. And when we don't have trust, people resort to express their dissatisfaction by supporting movements that oppose democracy. Well, it shows how rich, how wide, and how useful this meeting was. I hope that the center will try to make this symposium available for reference. Maybe we will somehow publish it electronically, because it would be a waste if we waste this opportunity. Now, I think I have some remarks myself. I think this symposium, all the topics that all the presentations had to do with actual factual situations. It was not theoretical. It was based on the needs of the people, the real and the welfare of the societies. It was international in that sense. Of course, the examples had to come based on specific countries, but the scope and the perceptions and the approach was an international one. And our meeting was one international and very practical and down to earth. Another thing that characterized this meeting is that populism is harmful. I think we are all against it. It's a burden to economy, but pandemic and populism work complementarily. I mean, each one reinforces the other. And this is important because at the end, all together is harmful to democracy and to populism and to society. Another point that I wanted to make, we talk about economics. Economics lead us to governance, then to politics, then to politicians, from then to authoritarianism and to democratic shortcomings. All this, it was a discourse, a discussion on democracy itself. So populism is a threat that undermines the whole system of governance, and I mean with that democracy. Another thing that was discussed, it was the kinds of populisms. Mostly there was a consensus that there is right-wing populism and left-wing populism, which I think I see that too, but I think that the common denominator of these, at least these two populism, is that they had a perceptions of groups in conflict. And the conflict of these groups represent interests that cannot be reconciled. For the political right, this may be the in-group, the out-group, and the in-group is us, of course, but the out-group can be anything. It can be the other country, it may be the other political party, it may be the immigrants, but anything. As for the left, they do exactly the same, actually. They have black and white. In-group is if they are depending on the reference of the leftist group, it may be the workers, it may be the people, it may be the proletariat, and on the other side is the capitalists, the exploiters, the imperialists, the neo-imperial, populists, neoliberals, and so forth. So actually what we see, it is a fight between two groups, but the important thing is that they believe they cannot be reconciled. So they don't treat each other as rivals, but as enemies. And this understanding, I think, is the most dangerous one, because this is a threat to democracy, since democratic governments is based on the premise that a society may operate in peace by reconciling differences. Compromise and respect to law by all, and when I say law, all, I mean both sides. It means that we have a society in unity and in harmony. Populism impairs exactly this understanding, promoting conflict of differences that cannot be breached. I think this is the most dangerous thing from my point of view of populism. Another theme that was heard in, where is it? I lost. Last, it was that populism endangered for democracy because it conceives conflicting groups that have cannot live together. And another thing that we did not discuss enough in this meeting is that the role of the people, the voters that follow the populist leaders, why they do that, why they cannot resist, and why they are so easily convinced with these populist policies. I think this probably will be another issue we will discuss in the future. And the last thing I want to say is thank you to everybody. And it was, we thank all the participants. I do that on behalf of European Center for Populist Studies. And I'm sorry what happened the last moment and the confusion with my computer probably. I hope we will have the opportunity to meet again and discuss these issues again. Thank you again all, and I wish you a peaceful tomorrow.